Mr. Tremain's here. CJ. Good morning, Mr. Tremain.
Good morning, Chairman. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Okay, so just a bit of a recap on the process, 10 minutes. I'm sorry that's all we can spare today. If you have any PowerPoints and stuff, we can help with that. But otherwise, we're just happy to hear from you, and if you wish us to ask questions, please allow some time in the 10 minutes. So.
I do. Well, firstly, thanks very much for the opportunity to present to you as a council today on the Waipariki campground. I won't muck around and get to the point of the issue as quickly as I can. Waipariki, as most of you will know, is located at a beach right smack in the middle of the regional council's territory. You'll all be aware that iconic campgrounds around the country are becoming less and less as the opportunities that are presented to the owners of those campgrounds by sale for private subdivision, the economics become a real issue for the owner, and many of them are selling for private development. Recent sales data in Waipariki and Waimarama indicate that properties in that area have sold for the lowest price, $299,000, up to $1.4 million as recent sales, and they're for small sections. What we've got here is an opportunity to purchase 2 hectares of prime iconic campground right on the beachfront at Waipariki. I understand that the Regional Council has previously looked at the opportunity in their own right, and for various reasons decided not to pursue the opportunity. That was when there was a valuation from Telfer Young at $2.4 million, a subsequent valuation at $900,000, which the Regional Council pursued, and a valuation of $1.2 million that the Perrys were looking to pursue. Today, we've got opportunity. I got involved, thought this was too good an opportunity for the region to lose, because the alternative to a purchase of the campground in public ownership is that the Perrys will put it up for sale privately, and I believe that the $900,000 that they're seeking will be at the lower end of what they will achieve. So I think the Perrys are being extremely reasonable. So what I'm proposing is that it's a 3-way partnership between the 3 main councils in Hawke's Bay. Secondly, that we place the property into a public reserve, which allows for the protection of the property in perpetuity for the people of Hawke's Bay, for wider New Zealanders, and for international tourists. And on that matter, there was an article from the Guardian newspaper just recently that put the Waipariki campground as one of the 10 must-see or must-do things in the North Island of New Zealand, which was interesting. So a public reserve, which also allows us or the reserve to apply for funds for capital contributions in the event of needing to upgrade some of the capital facilities. There's already a $30,000 lease on the property, so right now, if we buy it, if it was purchased, then the current tenant is responsible for upkeep and for the maintenance of the property. However, there is possibly in the future the need to invest in, to improve the capital items such as the toilets and potentially the accommodation. There's already we have a conditional contract in place on the property now. That contract is conditional through until the 31st of August, which allows more time for due diligence for the councils to, if you're interested in the proposal, to work together. So there's no necessity to agree the outcome today. In fact, it requires more discussion between councils if you thought that there was merit in this project. I appreciate that the money that it's been asked, which is $300,000 from this council, it is a scarce resource given the current climate you're in. I understand that, but this is a one-off opportunity to purchase this and place it into a reserve. I think it links ideally with your own outdoor spaces plan, particularly the plan around Tutira. And the opportunities that the council has been aiming to pursue in that area, linking up Lake Tutira and some of the other properties you own in that area. I think that a trail from here to Waipariki and ultimately to Tutira using Waipariki as a stop-off accommodation place is superb. So, look, that's the proposal. I understand that your own officials have given it a 65% scaling, which puts it on the cusp of being go. I believe that with a little bit of political willpower that this project could get off the ground. But I put it into your hands as to for questions.
There will be a few. Councillor Dick.
Oh, Chris, thanks very much.
Councillor.
The aerial photo on page 36
Yeah.
With lot numbers, which lot is the subject property?
So it is lot 1. So it's the 2.06 hectares.
Okay.
So
Lot-
it's the lot to the left is very steep hillside. So
Yeah.
it's this entire area here. I think
Okay.
previously, when you talked to your officials, the council has looked to take some of the portion of land to improve their access to the stream, but it's just that area there.
Okay.
Another point that's worth making, lot 2, I know the council has been in some discussions which is further back for potentially as a regional park in the future. There's about another 60 acres that abound this campground. That I mean, that's another opportunity, but certainly that's not what I'm discussing today.
Who owns that?
The Perry's own that.
They own that as well.
Councillor Hewitt.
Thanks, Chris. Nice to see you again.
You too.
I'm just wondering how you can protect an asset like this for the people of Hawke's Bay, and I ask because I'm familiar with a lot of campgrounds further south, and I mean Blackhead's a great example where, well, a few years ago when we used to go there, the majority of the sections were actually taken long term by residents outside of Hawke's Bay. So you have this wonderful asset that the ratepayers put their money into, but the access soon slips away from the ratepayers. So how can that be protected?
Oh, there's a clear, well, certainly it's put into a reserve, so it can't be sold. And
I mean, like there's some sections annually, same site annually, and all they grab those sites.
oh, I see what you're saying. Well, as far as I understand, there's a week in you mean off the landlord of the property. Yeah, so there are some sites, I don't think 100% of them, that some families do put a bond down, but it's not like the one at further south.
Clifton.
Yeah, Clifton, where they have a permanent residence. There's no permanent residences here. This is the only ones that they can put a bond down or for the next year would be a campsite, or there's about 8 accommodation units, which I guess anybody, like any hotel, can put a deposit down for the next summer in advance. Outside of that, there's plenty of opportunity.
They're not leased out annually?
No.
Councillor Graham, and then Councillor.
Thanks, Chris. 2 questions. One, I know you're doing due diligence on sewage. I'd just like to understand what the sewage
So the
is.
current,
But the second question is, that title, is there a right of access
Yes.
across that land?
there's
And
a
that will be
right of way across the driveway, and see the driveway
in
going
lot
to
2
the
that goes
in
across lot 2.
So there's a right
There's a
of way
right of legal right of access. So
Exactly.
the sewage, what
that
happens
protects it
there?
through to the main road.
Yeah.
And
Sewage?
in terms of the sewage, the current sewage has its own scheme, and it's put up into the Pan-Pac forest. There is an opportunity potentially to join the HDC scheme. Rachel, do you know anything more about the detail of the sewage?
No, but our team is comfortable with the existing sewage treatment, so it's on its own system, but there is a expressed interest that in the future it could hook up to the Hastings Council.
Okay. Yeah.
Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Tremain. And on page 38, you refer to this enhancing public access. Can you tell me, because there is public access on the other side of the stream, is there not? In what way does the addition of this land enhance access for the public?
Well, it enhances it by keeping it in perpetuity. If this property,
If
we
this
don't-
property wasn't there,
Yeah.
the public could still access the beach
of
freely.
course, of course. They
So I'm
can-
just
they-
trying to
they
find
can-
out how does this improve that access?
They can still access the beach on the other side of the stream, so that the access is still there. If this property isn't purchased in a public form, some form of public form, then I have no doubts that the only alternative for the Perrys following this is to sell it privately. That will reduce the access that is currently available publicly. So I guess in that respect it enhances it in perpetuity and protects it.
Quick one.
Yeah,
Councillor Bean.
thanks for your presentation, Chris. Is this land prone to flooding at all?
The bottom part of it, in the entire time that I have been associated with the beach, it's quite, you can't see the profiles, but it has come up to where that you can see that road there, but it hasn't come up right across the campground.
Thank you. Time's up.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Tremain.
Thank you very much.
And a great presentation, and we'll be deliberating tomorrow, hearing resuming at 11 a.m. So,
Thank you for hearing from me.
okay. Right, who's next? Gillian Wilton. Ah, great. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
So just to recap, 10 minutes, we time it, all the rest of it, but we do have a lot of people to get through today, so we welcome you here, and time starts now.
How would you like us to get these copies around, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, we can sort that out.
There's two separate ones. So that heading and that heading.
To start, Liz?
Yep, you're
Okay.
away. Please.
Right. Madam Chairperson, are you the chairperson here? No, Mr. Chairperson.
Been called worse, but yeah.
And council, right. On the papers you've been given, or are collecting, at the back of it there are some parts, some advertising thing, well they weren't advertising actually, write-ups from the Daily Telegraph 10 years ago. I have just included them so that you do know that we are not talking about 1 or 2 years of fighting this problem. 10 years ago there were a lot of write-ups in the paper about what was happening, and I have just included a few that all you speed readers from the City Council can peruse fairly quickly. Regional Council, sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Right, well my name is Gillian Wilton and I am past president and current chairperson of Seascape Environment Society. For this submission, Seascape is representing a group of disgruntled persons living adjacent to the Port of Napier. This group got together 10 years ago to sort out port noise, as it had become a 24/7 noisy business. Prior to this change, the nighttime shutdown meant sleeping patterns were uninterrupted. The group raised $25,000 and employed the services of experts for submissions on port noise and town planning. Seascape accepted the Napier City Council decision, but the port objected, resulting in a year of environmental court mediation at the expense of ratepayers' funds and much voluntary citizen time. The expert evidence existed at the time showed that the port was to offer mitigation to approximately 15 affected residents. What has eventuated is the port has not been a willing party to the rule. In fact, for 10 years, they have been extremely arrogant. The challenge to provide a very important regional infrastructure and ensure residents get a decent night's sleep is a difficult one. In this case, it is a situation where polluter pays principle should apply. Whatever the noise levels for mitigation are, and I profess to have no understanding of their relativity to the Karaka station readings, I do know that extreme whirring and banging, it's just absolutely impossible to sleep. The port is still making these noises at 3 o'clock in the morning. It is not a healthy situation for those who are living close proximity to the port. Well, it's now 7 years since the court order was stamped on the 10th of March 2009, and not one mitigation package has been offered, regardless of the number of complaints. Not that complaints are actually required to obtain mitigation. The port may say they are not over mitigation levels, and yet people are being awoken night after night. The basic idea is not to satisfy the readings of their listening station, but to not awaken sleeping residents with their industrial noise pollution. They should be good neighbours like other air and shipping ports and offer mitigation. The area has been a residential area long before it was used for shipping. New buildings are automatically protected with the insulation requirements. The Napier City Council have proven to be totally useless in enforcing the intent of the district plan and meeting the requirements of the RMA. The original intent was to ensure the acoustic amenity valued by the community was protected. Well, it isn't. The Napier City Council have done nothing to protect the residents. So now we come to the Hawke's Bay Regional Council. You own the Port of Napier by way of the people, so now the problem is becoming yours. With no help from elsewhere, it's up to the Regional Council to ensure their port is not destroying the health and well-being of the residents. I can see no point in having councils or hearing committees or even district plans if they are just ignored. Once again, I'm no expert, but surely with the current health and safety regulations, we expect it would become the port's responsibility to ensure their everyday workings do not have an unhealthy impact on the wider environment. We have spoken recently to Councillors Alan Dick, David Pipe and Christine Scott, who are giving this their attention. We are hoping for a solution that gives the people a healthy night's sleep. We are asking the Regional Council to make this a priority. The last 7 years have been very stressful for the residents to endure. The Napier Port is about to try to add yet another wharf to the area. Much as this may be really good for the port, if they cannot abide by the laws that are in place for noise now, how can we trust them with even more noise? It seems to me that they should deal with their current responsibilities before they make the noise situation even worse. You own the port. Please ensure that this is not another long phase of submissions and stalled decisions that seem to go on forever. This is not just an ethical problem, but surely a legal responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. I congratulate you getting through that in the time. I didn't think you were going to get there, but there you go. So there's 3 minutes actually for some questions. Councillor Dick.
Yeah. Gillian, has anyone from HBRC contacted you in the last week?
Not to my knowledge, Alan.
Well, I apologise for that because I've asked them to do so. And I'll, when I see either of the two that I've asked to deal with this with you, I will remind them to contact you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pipe.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation. Are we still talking about 15 residents that are affected? That was the original.
Yes, 15 residents is probably the maximum that are probably looking for.
Okay.
For that to happen, because quite a few of them, I have to say, have died in the last 10 years of procedures. So we have lost quite a few people who put in with their complaints and now are going to get nothing back for all the work that they put into it.
Have you done any calculation on the cost involved?
Yes, we actually have had a calculation, and when Karen that's tomorrow, when Karen's not speaking here, between $30,000 and $40,000 seems to be approximately, but that's not what we have to decide. That happens to be the engineer who decides the cost per house, depending on what the house is. But Karen Briggs has had an estimate done, and for soundproofing glass, it would appear it will be between $30,000 and $40,000
per residence.
Per residence.
Thank
Christine.
you for your presentation. You're not really looking for any change on the annual plan. You're here from what I can understand, to ask the owners of the port to mediate some sort of progress
Christine,
on this.
thank you. Yes, that is what we're asking of the regional council. We are asking of the city council to amend
Yeah.
their plan, but not for the regional council to amend theirs. Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Biddle.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks for your presentation. I'm a little bit confused because some of these news reports that you've given us to look at talk about $1.6 million and 62 houses, but now you're talking 15 and
Yes.
$20,000 to $30,000 per house, which is more like $500,000.
Well, that is a paper thing, of course. What happened in the first place was they brought in an inner and an outer boundary. And the inner boundary, there were 62 houses. If those houses all reached a level of where their port was too noisy, then there would have been 62 houses that would have been involved in it. But the people a lot of houses don't want anything to happen to their homes. They're perfectly happy. But the people who are having the problems with their sleeping, their hearing, they do want help with this. And that's probably only about 15 houses.
And have you observed any difference in the level of noise over the past 10 years since these reports were done? And
The level of noise, I'm very sorry to say, has gone up. Where I live, and I've been there for 52 years, there was, of course, no noise 52 years ago because there was no port, really. But in the last, we redid our house 15 years ago, and the advice was to put in a hushed glass, or thickened glass. That now does absolutely nothing to get rid of port noise. And the port have now moved westward into the area of Breakwater Road and the hill above. And so we are now getting the noise mostly from the moving containers and logs at night, all night. They whir, they rev, they go up, they pick up, they bang, they slash, they put it down somewhere and back they go to the next lot. And it goes on pretty well most of the night.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilton. We're out of time.
It's time?
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you very much. I think you've got your point across very succinctly, so thank you. We'll be deliberating tomorrow, not at 9 as advertised, but the hearing will recommence at around 11 o'clock. So, thank you. Okay.